Just 4 days from now, moving on, the leaders of North and South Korea will hold the first summit between the two countries in more than a decade. Ahead of that meeting, North Korean leader Kim Jong Un announced that his government would suspend tests of nuclear weapons and long-range missiles.
A new book, Us versus Them, The Failure of Globalism, looks at some of the consequences of increased international connections. Author Ian Bremmer discusses growing nationalism around the world and support for anti-establishment politicians. Ian is a CBS News senior global affairs contributor and president of the Eurasia Group. Ian, welcome. Congratulations on the book.
But before that, Ian, you have to tell us how you feel about the royal baby.
I'm glad that there are 10 fingers and 10 toes. I think that's what you want in these situations.
That is what you want.
Yeah.
It's a good global story.
Right. And now the pivot from royal babies to North Korea.
There you go.
What do you make of the messages coming out of North Korea right now?
They are giving us a continued cease of testing, both of ICBMs and nukes. We are giving them a summit. That is not new news last week. It's both been announced a month ago. It's been reiterated. They're talking about denuclearization. It's not actually going to happen. But I think that Trump is one of those guys that if he gets 5% of what he wants, his ability to spin that into this is the best deal that humanity has ever seen and I deserve a Nobel is fairly high. So he is getting progress, and I think at least in the near term, this is becoming a bigger opportunity.
So that's interesting, but there is this red line of do they have a nuclear program or not? And the administration has said they don't want them to have any nuclear program. So can he still do the 5% end zone dance if the nuclear program is still in existence in any form?
I think that Trump said a lot of things that he has changed his mind on once it becomes politically expedient, and this will be one of those things. Remember, the Israel-Palestine peace plan was one that he and Jared were going to do. I have not heard them discuss that in months now because they've tilted towards North Korea. This is now the priority, and Kim Jong Un is playing a little ball with them, right? So I think the summit is going to happen. Pompeo was over there. He didn't make any demands of the North Koreans, which is another thing you see that they really don't want to make it uncomfortable, make it easy for Kim Jong Un to come to this meeting and announce that they've done something that no other president has ever done, sat down with Kim Jong Un. That's a big deal. Trump deserves a win for it. Let's hope he doesn't break it.
China was once considered essential for the talks with North Korea. Now they're largely on the sidelines. What changed?
They have had their own summit already with Kim Jong Un. Kim made a point of going to Beijing first, and Xi Jinping is going to Pyongyang to make it very clear that at the end of the day, the entire North Korean economy is dependent on the Chinese. And if there's going to be a deal, it's going to have to be blessed by China. Look, if the Americans start pulling troops out of South Korea as part of any deal, and the South Koreans are working to do a peace deal with the North Koreans, the Chinese end up in a better position on all of this long term than the Americans do.
Ian, let's talk about us versus them, because you said Trump did not create us versus them. Us versus them created Trump, who you describe as obnoxious, dishonest, and incompetent, but do not dismiss his supporters, of which you say your brother is one.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think across the country, we see a lot of people that have gotten really angry because free trade has not worked for them, right? Open borders and changing the composition of the country has not worked for them. Endless failed wars in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria have not worked for them. And they've paid the ultimate price as enlisted men and women. And now technology is not working for them. And the idea that we're going to blame people that voted for Trump as opposed to a much larger group of people that didn't bother to vote at all.
45%.
Or 45, as opposed to the, sort of the much smaller group that Trump and Hillary got. Or we're going to not blame the people that sat by and voted for establishment figures like the Clintons, like the Bushes for decades, while people in the country got so angry and so displaced that they felt like the only thing they could do was vote for someone like Trump.
Solution?
Well, in the near term, let's recognize that getting rid of Trump is not going to solve this in the same, because it's not just happening in the U.S. It's happening all across Europe. We saw the elections in Italy. We saw the elections in Germany. We saw the Brexit vote. We saw the elections in Hungary. Like, this is not just an American problem. In fact, the only country you don't see it is in Japan, where they don't take any immigrants and where the population is shrinking.
Okay, Ian Bremmer, to understand the trends going on in politics, read Us versus Them.
Yes,
thanks so much for being with us. It hits bookstores tomorrow, in fact, so we've posted an excerpt on CBSThisMorning.com.